On the morning my son instructed me to move out of the residence I purchased, the coffee became cold in my fingers earlier than I even found out I'd stopped drinking it. He did not raise his voice. He did not want to. Michael just regarded across the kitchen desk, the identical desk where I would once helped him with his homework, and stated, "Mother, it's time you determined every other vicinity." For a second, I thought he became joking. I even laughed a little, looking forward to the punchline. But Emily, his wife, failed to chuckle. She stood by using the counter, fingers crossed, her voice flat and positive. "Michael's right. It's better for all and sundry in case you pass out. We want our very own space." That phrase, space, burned. I would spent decades ensuring my son had consolation, possibility, warmth, and now the woman I welcomed into my home changed into telling me to leave it. Interior, something cracked quietly, like a glass slipping off a shelf you know should become at ease. I blinked at them, trying to keep my voice regular. "Your very own space?" I asked. "That is my house. I paid for it. Every brick, each window. This become purported to be your start, a home for each person." Michael sighed like my phrases were an inconvenience. "Mom, we're thankful, but it is simply time. You've been here when you consider that Dad handed and things feel crowded. Emily wishes privacy." That phrase, privacy, felt like a slap. I had spent decades making sure he had the entirety he needed, and now his spouse turned into asking me to leave. The years of being a mom, of staying calm and smoothing over every facet, had trained me too nicely to yell. So I nodded. Maybe due to the fact I nonetheless believed he'd come to his senses. Emily started tidying up dishes that didn't need tidying, shifting quick like my presence made the air heavier. Michael mumbled something approximately assisting me find a nice rental close by. And similar to that, my domestic, the only with my husband's antique recliner, my mom's china, my wedding picture by way of the stairs, wasn't mine anymore. After they left the kitchen, I stayed there looking at the wall clock. The ticking felt louder than traditional. Lovett become counting down the final seconds of my area of their lives. I idea of every holiday dinner I had hosted in that house. Thanksgiving turkeys, Christmas mornings with wrapping paper everywhere. Every reminiscence felt all of a sudden tainted, rewritten. Had they continually visible me as a burden? Become this their plan all along? I walked via the residing room, touching the furniture I'd chosen, the curtains I'd sewn myself. My husband and I purchased this residence 30 years in the past when Michael turned into nevertheless in university. He'd wanted to stay right here simply until he were given on his FT, and that I permit him because that's what mothers do. However now, status within the same room where his infant photo nonetheless hung, I found out he had stopped seeing me as a person. To him, I used to be simply a bit of antique furniture, taking up area, outdated, inside the way. My coronary heart ached, but deeper than the pain was something chillier. Disbelief. While did love change into inconvenience? While did gratitude grow to be ownership? Later that afternoon, I heard them whispering upstairs. Emily's voice floated down the hallway. She gained it, simply go through with it, right? We'll simply have to push a chunk harder. Michael stated nothing. Silence, his favorite breakout. I sat within the living room armchair, clutching the cloth of the cushion, feeling the shape of my very own restraint. I had no tears left, only a quiet, pulsing shame, the sort that eats away at your dignity one breath at a time. Once they got here back downstairs, Michael said he'd begin checking listings. Emily added, "We will even assist you PC." Assist me PC? The one's words were colder than any wintry weather wind. I smiled, though it felt like my face become cracking. "That's very considerate," I said. My voice sounded like someone else's. Inside, something strange started out to stir. Not anger yet, however, awareness. A tiny, clear voice whispering, "Enough." That nighttime, once they went to bed, I walked via every room again. The ground creaked softly underneath my slippers. The house nonetheless smelled like lemon cleaner and warm bread, my fragrance, my habitual, my life. And that I realized they might need me long gone. However, they couldn't erase what I had constructed. I finished in front of the front door, my hand resting on the brass cope with. It struck me how peculiar it changed into. I concept I will be undesirable in the very home I created. I concept about my husband. What would he have stated? He'd been the one to train me in no way to back down after I knew I was proper. By the time I went to bed, I wasn't crying anymore. I was considering the deed in my call, the loan I'd paid, the quiet energy that comes while you've been underestimated for too long. When morning got here, Michael greeted me like not anything had occurred. Emily handed me espresso, overly cheerful. I familiar it, smiling lower back, my heart heavy, however calm. I should play this sport too. Due to the fact something in me had modified in a single day. The hurt hadn't long passed away. It had solidified into readability. They concept I was weak, too sentimental to combat for myself. But they had forgotten one issue. I was the only who built this lifestyles. And that I should take it apart piece by piece if I selected to. The subsequent morning, I couldn't even take a look at Michael or Emily. Their voices, pleased and casual over breakfast, appeared like historical past noise from someone else's existence. I moved quietly, pretending to pay attention, pretending to care. However internal, I used to be a storm they didn't see coming. Each mom may want to you pass the salt, or will determine things out quickly, felt like any other reminder that they already had without me. By using midday, I advised them I was assembly a friend. They didn't ask who, didn't provide to enroll in, didn't even look up. That small indifference hurt greater than their words from the day earlier then. As I stepped out of doors, the autumn air felt less warm than standard, but it cleared my head. Martha became waiting at our ordinary cafe, sitting by means of the window together with her cup already 1 or 2 empty. She appeared up, saw my face, and didn't want to invite what was wrong. They stated something, didn't they? She requested softly. I sat down across from her, my arms trembling a little. He told me to move out, my own son. And she stood there smiling like she'd been awaiting that moment. Martha's eyes widened. You acquire that house, Olivia. I know, I said. Each payment, every restore, the whole thing in it, it's all mine. But you ought to have visible them. It turned into like they'd rehearsed it. The waitress came by way of, and I may want to barely smile at her polite query. Coffee, please, I said. My throat changed into dry. Martha reached over and gave my hand a small squeeze. That simple gesture almost broke me. No person had touched me with kindness in weeks. For a while, neither of us spoke. I watched people outdoor walking their puppies, sporting purchasing baggage, speak me on phones, everyday lives. After which Martha leaned forward and stated, You should let them do this to you. I regarded up. What do you imply? She decreased her voice. Promote the house quietly. It's yours, isn't it? I blinked, amazed. I hadn't even taken into consideration that. For goodbye, I'd notion of the house as our home, the vicinity where own family was imagined to accumulate, not scatter. However, as her phrases settled, something inside me shifted. I may want to, I whispered. The deed's on your name, they'd never anticipate it. Martha nodded slowly. You'd eventually have peace, and that they should study what it feels like to lose something they took without any consideration. Her phrases hit domestic. I wasn't someone who preferred revenge testimonies, but this wasn't approximately revenge. It changed into approximately taking again what was mine.